So, you know what actually upsets me? That the football world spent 30 years treating American soccer like a punchline, and nobody stopped to ask why a country of 340 million people with the most elite sports infrastructure on earth was consistently losing to nations a fraction of its size. That's not a talent story. That's something deeper. And by the end of this video, the answer is going to completely change how you look at what's happening right now. Because here's the thing, the USA won Group D, beat Paraguay 4-1, beat Australia 2-0, and have now advanced out of the group stage at this home World Cup. They just beat Bosnia-Herzegovina 2-0 in the knockout round, their first World Cup knockout win since 2002, and now they face Belgium in the round of 16, the same team that knocked them out 12 years ago. That's not a coincidence. That's a program that has been deliberately rebuilt from the ground up. And the story of how they got here is one of the most fascinating things in modern football. What this video is actually about is the psychology of building a football nation from nothing. Not the tactics, not the individual players, the psychology. Because the USA didn't just find better players, they rewired the entire way they think about the game. And there's one piece of that story, the last piece, that almost nobody's talking about. And it's the one that explains whether this team can actually go all the way. I'll get to it, but first we need to go back to the beginning. For decades, American soccer ran on money, and I mean that literally. Youth soccer in the United States evolved into a massive industry fueled by private clubs, tournaments, and academies that required families to pay thousands of dollars annually. Access to elite training was largely determined by financial capability rather than pure talent. This is the pay-to-play system, and it shaped everything about the mentality of American soccer for a generation. The costs frequently ran from hundreds to thousands of dollars annually for travel, membership fees, and equipment. And the system disproportionately affected outstanding athletes from lower-income households, limiting their access to elite training and resulting in a less varied talent pool. So what did that produce? Organized, coachable players from suburban families who could afford the fees. While this model allowed clubs to sustain operations without government funding, it simultaneously created one of the most exclusive environments in global sports. Unlike other nations where youth development is heavily subsidized by professional clubs or federations, the U.S. relied on parental contributions. An opportunity became tied to wealth, leaving many talented players from lower-income backgrounds excluded from elite pathways. The hungriest kids, the ones who play like they have something to prove, were often filtered out before anyone ever saw them. That's why the USA underachieved for years. Not a lack of athletes, a broken filter. But here's where it starts to get interesting, because something quietly shifted. The emergence of MLS academies, nonprofit organizations, and scholarship-based programs started to challenge the dominance of the pay-to-play system. Professional clubs like the Philadelphia Union, FC Dallas, and LAFC began investing in free academy models, offering young players access to elite coaching without financial barriers. Much of this change can be traced to MLS investment in youth academies. Over the last 10 to 15 years, MLS clubs took youth development seriously, establishing residential programs, forging ties with local communities, and creating clear pathways to professional play. Clubs like FC Dallas, Philadelphia Union, and the New York Red Bulls developed systems that mirror those of Europe's top academies. The talent pool started widening, and the mentality of the whole program started to change with it. And now we get to the second thing, the one that actually accelerated all of this faster than any domestic reform could have. The USA started exporting its best teenagers to Europe, not as a last resort, as a deliberate strategy. Christian Pulisic came through Pennsylvania-based academies before joining Borussia Dortmund at age 16, once considered an outlier. Now he's part of a growing wave. Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Giovanni Reyna, names making an impact in top European leagues, not just participating, but thriving, playing key roles for prestigious clubs and competing in the UEFA Champions League. Think about what that actually means. Mentality isn't something you teach in a classroom. It's something you absorb through immersion. When a 17-year-old American kid is training every day inside a Bundesliga academy, Being held to the same standards as players who grew up breathing football, something changes in them. They stop thinking of themselves as American players trying to compete with the world. They start thinking of themselves as footballers, full stop. Chris Richards grew up as an athletic kid in Alabama, who could easily have ended up with a career in a different sport altogether. But he caught the soccer bug early and pushed through culture shock as a teenager on a professional contract in Germany to blossom into a talented defender. That culture shock is the point. That's the download. And remember that mega loop I opened, the one piece of this story that explains whether the USA can actually go all the way? Keep that in the back of your mind, because we're almost there. Because here's what nobody fully accounts for. The USA turned disrespect into fuel. The football world has always looked down on American soccer. For decades, it was a joke. The sport kids quit at 12, the country that called it soccer because they already had a football. And the USMNT quietly weaponized that. Nobody believes in us is one of the most powerful motivational frames in sport, and it sits on top of a national sporting culture that is absolutely obsessed with winning. These are underdogs in football, but they come from a country that expects to dominate everything it touches. That combination, the chip on the shoulder plus the expectation of winning, is genuinely rare. Most teams have one or the other. The USA has both. Look at this roster. This group of United States players for the World Cup represents 8 different professional leagues around the world. Christian Pulisic has had the spotlight of American soccer follow him for years, and he's largely lived up to the hype. A key starter on one of Europe's top clubs and the top active goal scorer for the USMNT with 33 goals in 86 career appearances. Folarin Balogun, New York-born, London-raised, Arsenal Academy graduate, found the net 18 times in 40 appearances last season and excels at finishing with a precision the U.S. squad has historically lacked. Ricardo Pepi played the best soccer of his career with PSV this season, with 19 goals in 34 appearances. This isn't a team of hopeful young Americans anymore. This is a squad full of players who have been forged in the hardest environments in European football. And now for that last piece, the one that actually determines everything. Infrastructure, check. Talent, check. European mentality, check. But the one thing you cannot buy, cannot import, cannot engineer in a training session is collective belief. The belief that you belong at the top. Not just that you can compete, that you belong. Brazil has it. Argentina has it. Germany has it. It's built over generations of winning, and the USA has had maybe 2 generations of even being taken seriously. In the modern World Cup, the US has made it past the round of 16 just once, and that was 24 years ago. Every time they've gotten close, the belief hasn't quite been there when it mattered most. But something is different right now. Playing with 10 men after Balogun's red card, the US didn't just hold on against Bosnia. Malik Tillman's gorgeous free kick in the 82nd minute sealed the victory. A team that doesn't believe it belongs doesn't play like that with 10 men in a knockout game. The Americans also ended a 10-game losing streak against European opposition in that match. That's not a stat. That's a psychological wall coming down. So here's where we've landed. The blank slate that everyone mocked, no culture, no history, no tradition, turned out to be a feature, not a bug. It let them build deliberately, copy the best systems in the world, and treat football like a startup instead of a religion. The pay-to-play system held them back for decades, but the shift toward free academies and a wider talent base is the quiet revolution behind this team. Sending teenagers to Europe didn't just develop players, it downloaded a champion's mentality the USA had no way of growing at home. And the disrespect from the football world became the exact fuel they needed. All 3 co-hosts have advanced to the round of 16, and the USMNT now faces Belgium on Monday night in Seattle. The infrastructure is there. The talent is there. The mentality after that Bosnia win might finally be there too. The only question left is whether this team collectively believes it belongs at the very top, and we're about to find out on home soil in front of the whole world. If you want to understand how Belgium built their own golden generation and why this round of 16 matchup is more complicated than anyone is saying, That video is next.